Welcome to The Explainer. You ever get that feeling that our economy is just stuck in a loop? You know, the constant booms and busts, where it feels like for most people, it's one step forward, two steps back. Well, today we're digging into a really radical vision for our economic future. It's a blueprint that suggests we can build a more stable, fair, and prosperous world for everyone.
All right, to get our heads around this, we need to start with a core concept, something called systolic motion. Now, don't let the name scare you. Think of it like the universe's heartbeat. It's this natural, pulsating rhythm, an expansion and contraction. The source material we're looking at says this wave-like movement is in everything, from galaxies spinning in space to the way our own societies grow and change. It's a natural cycle of ups and downs, clash, and cohesion.
So what happens when that natural forward motion just stops? Well, that's when a society enters what's called stagnicity. And this isn't just a harmless pause. No, it's a dangerous stagnation. It's kind of like economic arthritis, right? Everything gets stiff, movement becomes painful, and it ends up being the root cause of some of our biggest problems, from economic collapse to cultural decay.
Okay, so which systems are the most likely to get stuck in this dangerous static state? Well, the analysis we're exploring today points the finger at the two big ones, the major economic ideologies that have shaped our modern world.
And here's the twist. It's both capitalism and communism. The argument is that even though they look totally different on the surface, they're like two different kinds of dams trying to block the same river. Capitalism's dam is built from that self-centered profit motive, which causes wealth to pool up at the top. Communism's dam is built from its own internal rigidity and lack of individual drive. But the end result? Both systems block the natural dynamic flow of progress. They're fighting the current.
Wow. The imagery here is pretty powerful, isn't it? When you think of a firecracker, you don't think of a slow fizzle. You think of a sudden, loud, explosive burst. And that's exactly how this source predicts the end of capitalism. Not a gentle decline, but a sharp, violent break caused by its own internal pressures, mainly that immense concentration of wealth.
And if capitalism is a firecracker, Marxism is described as a comet. You know, it streaks across the sky, it's bright, it gets everyone's attention for a moment, but it's on a path to nowhere. It's not in a stable orbit. It's a temporary flash that, according to this view, ultimately leads society to a dead end, the state of total stagnation, nihilism, and cynicism.
So what is the ultimate price we pay for all this economic stagicity? What happens in the real world when these systems grind to a halt? Well, the source material has a one-word answer, and it's a word nobody ever wants to hear: depression.
And according to this analysis, these devastating economic collapses aren't just random acts of nature. They have two very specific causes. First, wealth gets stuck at the top, kind of like a clogged drain. And second, money itself stops moving through the economy, like blood clotting in an artery. When those two things happen, the whole system just begins to shut down.
I mean, we've seen this movie before, right? The Great Depression is the classic example. It felt like the entire world just stopped. People lost everything: their jobs, their homes, their savings. It was a period of unbelievable hardship, all because the economic engine had seized up.
And to really bring this home, check out this staggering detail from the Depression's impact in Bengal. For just 1 paisa, which is a tiny coin worth practically nothing today, you could have bought 5 kilograms of eggplant. Think about that. The food was there, but because money had completely stopped circulating, almost no one had that single coin to buy it. It's like standing in front of a full vending machine and dying of thirst because nobody has any change.
And here's the really stark warning from the text. It predicts we are heading for another depression, but this time it's going to have a devastating twist. It'll be a double whammy, a perfect storm combining total economic collapse with runaway inflation. So your money is worth less and less at the exact same time there's no money to be had.
Okay, so if the old models are broken, what's the alternative? Is there actually a way out of this? A way to build an economy that's dynamic, that's stable, and that's fair for everyone? The text we're examining says yes, absolutely. And the proposed solution is called Prout. It's a whole new model designed from the ground up to solve the very problems we've been talking about.
So what's the plan? Well, Prout's approach is basically a direct antidote to the causes of depression. It's a pretty straightforward 3-step strategy. First, get more purchasing power into the hands of ordinary people. Second, make sure that money keeps moving, keeps circulating. And third, shift the entire goal of production away from profit and towards meeting actual human needs.
This chart really makes the difference crystal clear. The old models, both capitalist and communist, are basically pyramids, right? All the wealth and power gets funneled up to a tiny point at the top while everyone else scrambles for what's left. The Prout model, on the other hand, is designed to be like a circle. Wealth and resources are meant to constantly circulate so that everyone can participate and everyone can benefit. Now, this is the absolute key. The argument is that by taking the profit motive completely out of the equation for essential goods, you remove the main engine of artificial inflation. Now, you might be thinking, hold on, what about supply and demand? And that's a great question. But in this system, production is geared only to meet consumption needs. There's no incentive to create fake shortages or to price gouge, and that's how you can naturally guarantee purchasing power for everybody.
All right, this all sounds really interesting in theory, but how would we actually build an economy like this? What are the nuts and bolts? What are the actual policies? Let's take a look at the blueprint.
So first up, policy number 1, picture a world where things people actually need, food, clothing, medicine, can move freely between regions. No import taxes, no export duties. This would naturally balance things out, so an area with too much of something can easily sell to an area that doesn't have enough, all without artificial price hikes.
Policy 2 is a huge shift from how things work now. No more exporting raw materials. Instead, local resources must be used to build local industries and create local jobs. This would be a complete game changer, especially for developing regions. They'd no longer just be a source of cheap materials for the rest of the world. They'd get to build their own prosperous economies from the ground up.
And finally, this system is designed to unleash human creativity. It encourages us to find new, innovative uses for everything we produce. Turning jute into fine clothing or making edible oil from okra seeds. It's about eliminating waste and creating new value and abundance from what we already have. The possibilities are really endless.
And what's the end goal of all these policies? Well, it's a world where everyone has a real shot at a decent life. A world where you don't have to live in constant fear of losing your job or your home. A world where our kids can actually have a brighter future. That is the fundamental promise of this model.
Look, the vision being presented here isn't just some fairy tale. It's laid out as a practical blueprint for a better future. A future where we could, in theory, turn our planet into a golden Earth. But of course, it's not just going to happen by itself. It's something we would have to choose to build.
So I think the crucial question this whole analysis leaves us with is this. Maybe we've been asking the wrong questions. Maybe the future isn't about choosing between capitalism or communism. Maybe the real question we should be asking is our economy dynamic or is it static? Is it flowing or is it stuck? The choice, ultimately, is ours. Thanks for watching.